Oh, okay.
What is up,
All right.
everybody? Saltiest Gaming back with another video. Saltiest podcast back at it again, episode number 2. What's up, everybody? Let's get it going. How you guys doing today?
Good. I just watched the Ice Dragon go ham on all those the Great Wall of freaking Game of Thrones. That wall is no more. Goodbye. And
It's
we now
crazy.
have to wait up to 2 years to see what happens to Westeros. That's insane.
Yeah,
Hindsight, no more little finger though. That's a positive thing.
it's the
Yeah, she
plus.
sliced his throat. She sliced his throat in a matter of 5 seconds.
Mhm.
But no, I'm good. I like the little setup that I have on the Discord. I've been having really fun conversations all week. They
Oh
keep
yeah,
me entertained.
you want to
They
tell the
keep me
audience about
entertained.
Discord? Some people don't.
Discord.
People know about Discord for the most part.
Well, I encourage people to use Discord for podcasts. I believe K Mega uses it for his podcast. He's like the only smart person that does it. And if anybody's watched my channel, you know that I sometimes use it when I want to like go on like 30-minute speeches while I put gameplay in the background. I just use Discord, but the Discord that Halo built is like it's really interactive, and there's always people talking. We had people talking up to like 1:30. In fact, this one guy was trying to troll this other pony at 1:30 in the morning, and I had to tell him to shut up. That it was 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, maybe the guy's asleep, man. Calm the hell down. Like Jesus Christ, people, but don't troll people at like 1:30 in the morning.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You get like notifications all the time for the live chats.
Yeah. I mean, if it gets too rowdy, I just turned off my notifications for my phone. But
Yeah.
it's a good you meet new people there all the time, and it's quite interesting to see their point of view. I spent all day arguing the complex of PC. I love arguing with these PC guys because they think that PC is the greatest, and why have a console?
PC Master Race.
PC Master Race concept. Why have a console if you can just use PC? So
Yeah,
I love having that argument because it takes a while for that person to realize you're not going to win that argument. Like I have a Porter Rock mentality. Porter Rock, just automatically disables that mentality. And then on Friday, I had to come in and save the day for Halo, who was debate that pony Alex. Hey guys, FYI, COD and 2K are not Sony exclusives. So any pony who says that to you, you are a moron. I am sorry. That is just totally.
Somebody said that for real?
Stupid. Yeah, Alex said that. He was using that as an example for Sony exclusives. 2K and COD. I am not joking. Go watch the.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of crazy.
2K and COD. Wow. I'm not joking. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, yo. I messaged next year. I'm like, yo, get me in this shit. I want to get a piece of this guy. So then I asked him, I'm like, how did COD become a Sony Sony shit? And he couldn't even answer the question. I'm like, the answer to that question is Phil Spencer no longer wanted COD. He no longer wanted to basically fund that shit, basically to have it, third party support. So Sony picked it up. That's the answer to your question. Bingo. And but they're both multi-plat, so it's so stupid, and it was so funny. But it was hilarious. And then he kept asking the obvious question, like, why get an X if I'm not interested in 4K? And Halo couldn't answer the question because because he's not that experienced. And I'm like, the answer to the question is you don't, because if you're not interested in the 4K resolution, just don't get it, because it's only for the 4K enthusiasts. Like, and we all know this. So it's like, it's only for the people who give a damn about that resolution piece. If you don't give a shit about the resolution piece, you're fine with that S. But I think the new news is that they canceled the OG Xbox One model. So that wonderful fat model that came with the Kinect so many years ago, they're no longer manufacturing it. So now it's just the S, and it's going to be the X. So I don't know what Phil is actually thinking there. That's kind of interesting. I mean, he kind of wanted 3, the big 3, the big 3 consoles, and now he only has 2. So I don't know. I mean, the S is, it doesn't have a power brick, so it's automatically better. You know, and you no longer need Connect anymore because you have Cortana. So that's always a fun joke. But you know, you
real
got
quick,
the S and you
so
got
how
the.
I was watching that what was it, debate, if you want to call it. Like, how did you get drug in? Because I was watching one dude debate,
because I was no, I'm trying to
someone else
relax,
got
man.
drug in.
I'm trying to relax on my couch, listening to this debate, and I can just see Halo like just going like down spiral, and Alex is just like pounding him with questions that he's too young to answer the questions to. But Alex asked him a question that he didn't know the answer to, and I'm like, yo, I can answer that question for you. So I'm like, yo, is that here? Give me in that shit. I want to answer the question. So he gets me in there, and then it comes up with a whole bunch of new questions, and it takes like 10 minutes for that question to pop up again. And then when it does, Alex just shrugs it off. He's like, oh, then it's kind of pointless. I'm like, yeah, that's the answer to your question. It's only for the 4K enthusiasts. But at the moment that kid said that Sony's exclusives included COD and 2K, I'm like, yo, someone please drop this mic. I want to go to hell. Send that shit to Hades, please.
It was weird, man. I guess
Send that shit to Hades.
Letting anybody on the debate, I guess, at
like
this
someone
point,
please call Porter Rock for damage control. I beg you. Please, Porter Rock, like control your ponies. I beg you. That's just like so absolutely so stupid. And then he was bragging that he had 700 trophies. And then I talked to my boy Rambo. My boy Rambo said that's like equivalent of like less than 2,000 gamer score.
See, that's the thing. I hate when people touch upon gamer score as like a gauge for you as a gamer, you know, because there's people out there that are pro FPS shooters, and all they do is
what I wanted to know was what his actual gamer tag was, because he said he had one. He just sold his Xbox, but I don't know his actual gamer tag, so I can't look it up. But I was trying to judge
troll. He's the biggest troll.
But I kind of wanted to troll. I kind of wanted to troll him back, because I was like, well, like you were saying, he's like, oh, I love my PlayStation. I'm like, but you only got 700 trophies. Yo, Rambo's got like over like 2,000, and the guy's handicapped. He got big guy in a wheelchair. That's horrible. That's so sad. I'm sorry. No offense to Rambo, because he's awesome, but like that's just like so sad. Like pitiful Alex gets beat by a guy that uses a wheelchair. Yo, come on. That just
he
sad.
didn't. If Thieves and Crackdown weren't AAA exclusives, so
well, that was the other part of the debate that I was having trouble watching, was everybody was naming all these like AAAs, and like they didn't realize they were AAAs. They were like, is this AAA? Is this AAA? And like I'm like, oh, come on, guys, don't you know don't you know your history? Like, please. Like that's just like so really annoying. But it was funny, because I was sitting there on Friday night. I was trying to enjoy the debate, and I'm like, yo, I can't watch this kid get crushed. I gotta go in there. But then it turned into like a triple threat, because two randoms joined, and then we just all ganged up on Alex. So it's bad.
So yeah, everybody in the chat, if you check out Next Gen 720's channel, he's pretty cool. That's where all this went down. Let's talk about what we've been. If you guys want to get into that real quick,
do you want to touch on the? Sorry, I'm using my laptop. I haven't used my laptop in months.
Sorry.
We got do you want to talk about the original canceled?
We'll talk about that. Let's talk about what we've been playing real quick, so we get a little bit more people in here. Nick, you want to go real quick and say what you've been playing?
Man, I've been playing the same stuff I've been playing. Pretty much, Overwatch, Fortnite, Madden. And yesterday I started playing Paladins, and that was pretty interesting. So I'm gonna probably start playing that a little bit more.
That's cool.
And my league starts in Madden this year, so my YouTube channel should start picking up with videos. So, but that's pretty much it. All that.
And where can people find your channel, bro? Just to let them know.
YouTube.com/Nick Fury, like my username, all one word. I'm on there. I'll mostly be doing, for the most part, until I can figure everything else out, I'll be doing mostly just, sports titles, Madden, 2K, and then I might do some first-person shooters every once in a while, Overwatch and Paladins and Destiny, if that's any fun.
Destiny 2, I cannot wait. That's actually what I'm going to be playing next. I get it on the 5th, which is it's actually a week from Tuesday. So I cannot wait. I get to pick it up at 11 o'clock p.m. So I actually get to pick it up an hour early before everybody else. I get to come home, I install it, and then I get to start my grind. My September grind is all Destiny 2 content.
September grind.
True. So what have you been playing, T Reaper, on the old Xbox?
Nothing, man. I'm on vacation. That's like I say this practically every month, and you know, I even threw this in Next Gen's face. I think it was last week. He was I think it was on the multiplayer. Yeah, it was on multiplayer on Thursday. He's like we all love gaming, but you know, I guarantee we all have a backlog. I'm like, I don't have a backlog. I'm not the only one that don't have a backlog. But no, I don't. I'm all caught up with my stuff. Usually I beat the games within the first 24 hours of launch. So it's like I don't have a backlog all year. So I'm just basically chilling and relaxing. And if I do play something, it's usually Halo 5, which comes second to Halo 2 in preferability, in my opinion. I was having that argument on Discord today too. Or Titanfall 2 if I'm feeling overly generous. But yeah, it's usually Halo 5. Actually, the Nova kid, the Nova guy, shout out to him. He actually wants to face me in Halo 5. I'm like, be careful what you ask for, because you know a lot of people wanted to face me and they all lost. So you know, except Halo and that one guy from Zaire's stream. Those were the only two that actually beat me. So it's kind of fun.
Dang, man, represented for the Halo community. That's cool. So yeah, let's get into the first topic of the day. So apparently the big black box with the Kinect, it's finally been put out to pasture. What do you guys think about that news?
Well, I'm happy it took them less time to do that to an Xbox One product than it did to a 360. That's very positive. Good for you, Phil. I appreciate that. You know, but you know, that technically doesn't really seriously count because we still are in its generation. So I'm kind of curious why he just discontinued it. I mean, it's obviously that the S and the X will be the, you know, the more preferable, you know, options. But I'm like, well, you know, if do you want the X, do you want the S, you know, or you know, I personally, for those who can't, you know, afford an S or an X, you know, you should always leave that cheaper model, because that big fat model was like basically the 360 arcade version. It was that arcade version that everybody picks up when they can't afford the newer stuff, you know. And if they discontinue it, then you kind of leave everybody with like the you know, having to get the best of the best, which isn't always a bad thing. But you know, then again, you have to think about everybody's wallets. But then again, I think everybody should have been thinking about their wallets a year prior to when the Scorpio was launched anyway.
So when did you guys pick up your Xboxes? Just curious. I picked mine up day one. I stand in the line with Shameless. I paid the $500 for the one with Kinect, got the black box and all that other stuff. It had some text on the controller. It said day one, so it's kind of similar to that Scorpio day one edition for the X. When did you guys pick yours up?
I got mine.
Go ahead.
You go. Oh, okay. Well, my explanation is kind of long. I got mine. I got my first one, my day one version, day one with the Kinect, and at the end, the day one version lasted me about 6 months. Around the time Titanfall 1 launched, what I had to do is I had to take the day one version back and basically swap it out because I had a year warranty on it. So I got a new black version. I wish I hadn't gotten rid of the day one controller though. And then that same year, the AW came out, so I got my second. Xbox One. Then that lasted me up to when up till in 2015, and that actually died on me. So I actually had to invest in the Halo 5 console, and that's still with me. And then I got 2 S's.
Okay.
So I in the
ecosystem.
So that was two black ones, the AW version, the Halo 5, and 2 S's. So technically that's 6.
PC people are going to be like, "Oh, you spent over this amount of money. You could have had the
I can.
PC ever, bro." What do you say about that?
It was over. It was over $4,000, I think. I mean, if you put 500, and they were all $500 a piece, so they weren't cheap.
Right.
But
So how would you respond to that though? If someone's calling you out for that?
Well, I mean, I love Xbox. I mean, it's not like I don't have a PC that I can use for PC gaming. I do. I just prefer the what's the word? The simplicity of consoles. That's just what I prefer, and I don't care that, my PC can do 100 frames per second. I honestly don't give a damn. I don't care that my PCs can do better 4K. I don't care. I prefer to play on Xbox Live. And like I was actually saying in my other speech, sometimes one reason is all you need to invest in something. It doesn't have to be more than one reason. I'm sure that, I'm sure the Sony crowd has more than one reason to invest in so many Pros and Slims. I also have a Slim, so I actually do own one. But the reason I bought that one last December was, first I wanted a cell phone. I couldn't get a cell phone, so I either had a choice of saving my money or playing a prank on Andrew House, and I chose let's spend $350. Let's get a PlayStation. Let's play a prank on Andrew House. So that's that's where my nickname comes from, because I legitimately played that prank and sent the tweet straight to Andrew House. So I was like, yeah, that was, but it was all for pranks. It was all for jokes, because people ask me, why'd you do something so stupid? I'm like, it was just for amusement. That's practically what I did. And then the April Fool's joke was less for amusement and more for my own personal quirk, because like the first time I did the first prank, it was, the thing was protected when I did it, because I didn't know how durable it was. The second time I did my second prank, nothing was actually covering it when I put that stuff on it. So, and then I had to put it under a fountain of water to wash it all off, and it still worked. I mean, I guarantee you, if you do that to an Xbox, it's not, if you put water on an Xbox, it's gonna fry because of the vents and stuff. So you can't do that to it. You can't do that to an Xbox. But
so Nick, when did you get yours?
Man, I got my Xbox One. I think it was the summer of 2015. Yeah, the summer 2015. Can't remember if it was July or August. I got mine without the Kinect. I really didn't see the point of purchasing one with the Kinect, and so I kind of just waited. Plus, I didn't have money at the time, so I just played on a 360. Waited until then, got a better job that I had, and then got the X1, and literally didn't do anything but play FIFA and Titanfall until Destiny came out, and then I had to buy my second Xbox. I think I got that in July, and then in December, my kids was messing with the disk drive and mess up the disk drive, and so I had to send one in for a exchange, and I got tired of waiting because it literally took them like 3 weeks to get me the Xbox, which they need to work on that. That was just painful. So I went ahead and just bought another one, and then whenever I got the exchange, I just sold it to my friend, and so I've been rocking with that one ever since. Thank God, because I didn't really feel like buying another one. I almost thought I had to buy another one not too long ago when my power supply went out, and that was almost frustrating, which leads me to the topic that we're talking about, the X1. That was one thing I did not want to get the S because of that. I really just wanted to buy just a regular Xbox when I thought that my Xbox was broken.
Yeah, the S doesn't. The S is better though, because it doesn't have a power supply brick though.
Well, yeah, I know that.
Because it's inside of it.
I had the same problem with the brick.
Right, but what I was looking for was just a sort of quick option before the X came out, and so that was my kind of deal. I didn't. It was like maybe 2 months ago, whenever the brick went out, and I had to go get a new one. But I did not. There was no way I was not going to buy the S. I really wanted just to get the regular one and then hold off until the X came out. So that's what my reasoning behind it.
And I think that that's a perfect example of why the sales of Xbox Ones in general have dipped, before the Xbox One X, pre-orders were announced. You looked at MPD's numbers and they were, at 100K, sold, and then people were saying, "Oh, it's going the way of the Wii." I went to
my Walmart today, and they said that their pre-orders were online, but they were pretty sure that it was all sold out. So you got you got Amazon. You got Amazon is sold out. You got GameStop is now sold out. You got Best Buy, and you got Walmart. So the people are wanting this thing, and they're wanting it pretty bad. So it's like kind of kills the concept that no one's gonna want this thing. So it's like and that's what a whole bunch of biased media was saying before this thing was launched. No one's gonna buy this. No one is interested in this. I'm like, I guarantee you, people are gonna be interested in the next evolution of consoles. And for all the PC guys listening, it's not I don't care that PC is better. We all know that. What I'm interested in is the evolution of consoles. And if Phil's plan comes full circle in a couple years, you might see both PC and consoles become one entity, and that actually is looking more and more possible as time keeps going forward and forward. It's becoming more apparent that's what is trying to actually become reality. But especially if you look at Gamescom, and everybody was complaining about the wonderful Age of Empires thing on PC. Just look at how much PC things they're touting, and the Windows 10 stuff and all that stuff. Just look at that, because might want to take a step back and realize Phil might have a grander idea of what he wants, but it might not be in the best interest of traditional console gaming.
So we'll see. I heard a lot of slamming Phil on that subject matter, because they're like, well, Universal Windows platform was made, to make things easier. So why didn't you take Age of Empires and move it to the Xbox One? It'd be a simple, port 1, 2, 3. But the thing that I was trying to, get across in a couple chats is that, UWP doesn't make it, it makes it easier to port games over. But, Xbox and Microsoft are also a business, and they have to look at it,
what's going to make the most money?
Yeah, Halo Wars 2 sales numbers, which weren't released to the public, because that's not what Xbox, does. But that, from what I've heard, Halo Wars 2 wasn't, killing it in sales. So why would it be beneficial for programmers to go in there to an old game and then program it for, the console space with controllers and everything else, because it's an RTS, Age of Empires is an extremely popular game, that had, started in the Windows.
It's a very old game as well.
Yeah,
it's a very old game. Very old.
It will sell. It will sell across the PC side. And I think that people get caught up too much when it comes to the division of Xbox versus PC. It's just like, oh, we're Xbox, we're the console space. We don't want this Play Anywhere stuff because it's screwing us over.
Yeah.
But
but the problem is, reality is, whether you want it or not, it's there. And it's going to happen. And, as long as Phil basically is allowed to keep his dream going, it's going to become more and more like a PC environment ecosystem, and less like that console space that we have all grown over and love. Because this is my theory. And again, this is just a theory. Just hear me out. Tell me if this theory makes sense. So, a long time ago, Bill Gates, Microsoft, their goal was to get their box to rule the living room. Is that basically what happened? That's basically what their dream was, right? Okay. Now we can say, after 3 generations, we can confidently say they have achieved that with not only the OG Xbox, not only with 360 generations, but with Xbox One in general, with the way that it rules entertainment, with the NFL package, the whole 9 yards. Now, my theory is, the next step of that evolution goal is to rule on, online gaming itself. Now, and that would be the closest concept to do that, if, Sony wasn't being stupid, was to introduce crossplay between Sony and Xbox Live, and then bam, you would have a duo. The problem is Sony doesn't want to do that. So the next best thing to do is take one of your own platforms, which is PC, combine it with another one of your own platforms, which is the Xbox division, and make a single ecosystem that it revolves around the the PC Online and Xbox Live. But doing that, it will take time, and it will take a lot of money, because there's a lot of barriers standing in the way of doing that. Steam is a barrier. You have Origins, which is a barrier. You have a whole bunch of different companies that are barriers to what they're doing. But, you know, and a PC guy basically said, well, you know, Steam wouldn't be a barrier if they just lowered their prices below Steam. But Microsoft doesn't like doing that because they like making money more than they actually like lowering prices. So I don't see them going that route. But I think that is what they're trying. They're like their next vision of like the, you know, the world is going to be, is like, you know, Microsoft has proven with Xbox Live that they can rule the, you know, the competitive edge of consoles. Now it's time for them to prove that they can go back home on PC and consoles, make a combo, bam. So that's what I think.
That's true. But, I mean, it's hard to argue against that, but you know, I hear a lot on these, you know, Xbox podcasts. I won't name it.
No, a lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people don't believe that.
They think it's lowering. They think it's lowering the value of the Xbox brand and the value of Xbox in general.
But how is that?
Yeah, because they
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that's me. That's not me.
Well, I know that.
What I'm trying to say
is how would it be lowering the brand? I mean,
so
it's Microsoft.
So basically, what they're saying is, So what they're saying is, you know, consoles are built on exclusives, and when you brand them out and say they're going to be playable anywhere and they're playable on PC and you can buy them on PC, why like what's the point of buying an Xbox One, right? You don't have exclusives. We can play it on PC. I can buy a PC and I can buy a PlayStation 4 and I'll be good, right? That's not the point.
But if you buy PC, you're also buying Microsoft, and that's what they want you to do.
Exactly.
That's what they want you to do. So like now if you were to buy a Mac, Microsoft doesn't own that. So, you know, Apple, totally different story. But, you know, most of the stuff I think it was like 98% of that stuff is Windows. So as long as it's on Windows, you're doing what Microsoft wants you to do and play their platform.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is like, how is it cheapening the brand? It's like I said, it was Microsoft either way. And then to answer your question, what's the point? Us three here still play an Xbox, so that is the point right there. Like it doesn't change anything.
People are still going to play it,
right? You're going to play on Xbox. You're going to play on PC.
They're going to still play the product, no matter where the product belongs to. Like the thing is like Microsoft will own both. So no matter where you play, you're still playing a Microsoft product. The product still is like dominating, you know, on two sides instead of just one.
So. That's what I'm trying to, you know, hit out there, because I think, you know, in the Xbox community we can fall in line like dominoes with our thought processes, and then a lot of the time someone, you know, comes up with an argument and everybody agrees with it and they don't say anything against that, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, person A brings up the topic of crossplay and they say, oh, it's a failed endeavor, Microsoft is wasting.
It's only a failed endeavor on Sony because Sony because it's only a failed endeavor against Sony because Sony keeps cock blocking it. That's basically the only problem. They keep blocking it. You know, but the Windows, they can control that because they own a majority of it. So they own a majority of the Windows products and they own the Xbox division. So combine those two and you have crossplay. You know, but you know,
honestly, the direction that I see that Microsoft needs to go in, which who knows if this will happen. Steam has a chokehold on the market.
Yeah, they have to buy Steam. They have to get that. They have to get Steam.
Or they have to come into an agreement with Steam that the games can be playable on there, because the Windows Store is not, you know, it's not viable right now.
By Steam. It keeps getting crushed by them.
So they could have a cross-play between Steam and Windows. That'd help fix that, because the player base and everything else is a problem, because, you know, the player base numbers for, what was it, COD? Wasn't COD released on there? And it was just atrocious. So you talk about, you know, that's one of the problems, but then you're seeing some of these games like Cuphead. Cuphead is going to be a Play Anywhere title, but I believe it's going to be sold on Steam. Correct me if I'm wrong in chat, or you guys.
You know what I noticed? I noticed this week that someone was trying to bring that up on Twitter. They wouldn't answer that question. They said It said it was going to launch as it was going to launch as a Microsoft. Wait, oh no, wait a minute. Sorry, that was PUBG. My bad. Wrong one. Yeah, go on.
So basically, I think what you're going to start seeing if Microsoft, the big dogs with their software, the $1 trillion company, they have sway in a lot of different areas. Okay. So if they want something to happen, they can do things to make that happen. Okay. Steam is a big entity. I think that they could set the tables together and iron something out that would make this a more viable feature. So I don't want to hear from people that say that Phil Spencer needs to be fired because this and that. People forget throughout time that, our last person, Mr. Donnie, he was digging the grave and throwing the Xbox brand in the grave, and he was about to shovel the dirt on it. Okay. I was there for the launch. I bought it day one. Yeah. And it was bad, man.
And he also said something incredibly stupid to a reporter. The reporter says, "What about the people who don't have internet?" Donnie D basically said, "Well, there's the 360." He said it straight to his face. Exactly. He basically said big F you, which wasn't entirely inaccurate, but it was like so unprofessional for him to say that, and like, you don't do that. Like, that was just totally wrong way to go about it. But I was still gonna get the system if it launched the way that it was like projected in 2013, regardless if they changed it or not, because that always online policy, that didn't really bother me. The restrictions, it didn't really bother me because it's like it fits my play style, and if nothing really fits my play style, I don't buy it and I don't play it. So it's like, it's fine. That's one reason, like, I have a PC, but it only fits my media work. It doesn't fit my gaming play style. Like, I don't game on PC. So it's like, I have one. I can do it. I just choose not to do it because it just doesn't fit me.
So you're on the hardcore side, but we're talking about the
casuals,
basic consumer, the casuals and stuff like that.
Some of the basic casuals don't have internet. Some of the basic casuals don't have internet.
TV, sports, TV, sports, TV, always online. Our system is less powerful than the PS4, and you have to buy the Kinect. All DOA, it's over, dude. That's all it heard. An L, big ass L, So that's the thing in the brand of Xbox, and this is a thing in life that is troubling for a lot of different people. It's the concept of change. Change is something that is consistent throughout life. Okay, so we have change in the Microsoft brand, we have change in the Xbox brand, and then a lot of people are going back to the times of the 360s. But those times aren't the same as this time. You know what I'm saying?
No, they're not. Like, and I think the concept of what Phil is doing, by bringing backwards compatibility, you bring a whole bunch of nostalgia. That is true, but you're also enabling people who don't want to buy new games to just sit there and play old games over and over and over again. You're never going to get people to invest in a new product if they're too stuck in the past to move forward. And I think the backwards compatibility is an enabler in that concept, because instead of people buying new games like Destiny 2, the new Call of Duties every year, they're so focused on the backwards compatibilities like Black Ops 2, for example. That's a big one. In fact, they put all the CODs on backwards compatibility, except I think Modern Warfare 2 hasn't been added yet. That's the only one that hasn't been added. They remastered Modern Warfare 4, for God's sake, with Infinite Warfare. So it's like like they keep rehashing old stuff, for people to get interested. But I think people have to evolve, and people have to find a way forward instead of keep moving backwards. And one of the biggest examples of this is the Halo Master Chief Collection. You remastered 4 titles, well, technically 5 when you put ODST in there. You remastered 5 titles just to get a release date, and it didn't even come out correctly launched. You basically killed it at launch. Like, the servers were horrible. Like, the multiplayer was so freaking long to wait in. The campaigns were cool, no issues there. But the multiplayer was just horribly done, and maybe that's a lack of development team support, because they split half the team to do that and the other half to focus on Halo 5. I'm glad Halo 5 came out perfect, but it's just like you have you rehash these old titles again to get people excited for nostalgia, but you're enabling them by making them move backward instead of forwards. And half the time I see my friends list, they're all playing old games that are, technically considered not necessarily the norm anymore. I mean, for God's sake, I think the other big one is Skyrim. You remastered that, for God's sakes. I mean, I understand that's a big classic, but still, that's pretty old. Like that's old. So it's like I don't really want to just. Someone says, "Oh, I play Skyrim all the time." I'm like, I don't really care. Like
not only do they remaster it, let's play it in VR. Like, good lord.
Yeah, I mean, they put Zelda in Skyrim. Like, come on. Like, that was kind of amusing. That mod, but it was like that the Link sword. It was like, but it was like, you have these games that keep propping up for remastered. And some remasters are warranted. Some games that are really, really old, like Doom, for example. Doom need to be remade because we hadn't seen one of those in years.
Yeah, but that was a reboot, not a remaster, though.
That was a reboot, so that was warranted to come back. The Wolfenstein franchises was warranted to come back because we hadn't seen those in years. But like the games that are remastered or the backwards compatibility things, I think you're enabling people not to move forward, and as long as they have a reason to stay where they are, they're not going to move forward. That's why when the Xbox One launched in 2013, they should have automatically cut the 360 off the board, so they would have no choice but to move forward. They didn't do that, though, and in doing that, I think you enabled people to stay there longer than necessary, so they didn't have a choice to upgrade. Because all that in history, whenever they choose to do a new generation, you automatically have a sense to upgrade. This time there wasn't a sense to upgrade, though. People stayed where they were. And
do you think that has a lot to do with the specs of the Xbox One and the PS4 in general? Do you think that has a lot to do with it?
I mean, I think it has to do with nostalgia. I mean, we had the 360 for what, like 7-8 years. It was way too long. And I think when you have something like that for that long, it doesn't really become a cycle. It becomes a something of a norm. So people it became a way of life, and that's not necessarily how it should have happened. Now I like how they're cycling the Xbox One. The Xbox One OG. Then they made one without the Kinect. Then they made the S. Now they're making the X. That's a good cycle, so people have a keep reason to upgrade. But you have these people on Twitter that will say it's like, oh, I have no reason to get an X. I have an S. And I'm like, don't you want the next evolution in console? Like, don't you want that? It beats your Pro. Why don't you want something that beats your Pro? Like,
the thing that I want to talk about, I've had these conversations on Twitter, is people before the Xbox One X pre-orders drop are saying, who wants to buy the system? It's for the hardcore. It's not going to sell, blah, 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 blah. And it drops at Gamescom, and then it's selling out everywhere within hours, So what is the true story? Like, is it supply and demand? Did Microsoft and Xbox only ship out limited supplies, therefore they created the demand, or is there extreme demand for a console that has great power? I would say personally that, since the stats are out there, look on the Amazon bestsellers list, and, it's topping the PS4 Pro, and it's been statistically the fastest selling pre-order to date. And that goes back to the Xbox One and the Xbox 360, that there is a demand for the most powerful system. And that's what Xbox has represented from the beginning. They've always represented the most powerful, and they wanted to be the most powerful, and they lost their way at the beginning of the console cycle, with the One. So what Nick, what's your take on this whole situation? I mean, the ponies out there are going to try to steer you in the direction that, there was no supply, therefore that is why it's sold out. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, my take is where's the proof that actually happened. You know what I mean? There was a limited supply, and even if that was the case, it's still sold out. And I mean, there might be a little bit of truth to both sides on that one. I don't know. Don't really want to go over that, but the fact that it's sold out and the fact that there's a demand for it, and I mean, we've been honestly, all I've heard from most people that I talk to that in the gaming and the consoles, they complained about the Xbox One being underpowered, and we're getting screwed for games. And you don't think that the Microsoft wasn't listening to the gaming community at all? Like, do you think that they just heard that and just kind of brushed that to the side and said, oh, well, we're going to keep doing what we're doing? No. And like we've all been talking about, the one was, I mean, somewhat of a bad launch, and not failure because it's still popular, but it was somewhat of a bad launch. And so why would they not listen to us and put out a console that everybody wanted, and then why wouldn't we buy it? And so for ponies to pony up and say, oh, it's a limited supply or this and that, it just sounds like spilled milk to me, dude. It just does. Because we had been complaining about this since 2013 on both sides, really. But on the most part, on the Xbox side, that these consoles are underpowered and they can't, compete with PC. Boom, Phil comes out. Here comes the Xbox One X. Here's a console that's pretty powerful, can run in 4K, and it doesn't exactly compete, but it's up to par. And then you're gonna say, and then you're gonna trash it. Like that to me is innovation. Why would you trash innovation? Like, and why would you trash a company for listening to their community? It's that's kind of the other thing, because you like everybody. Well, like some YouTubers, like they're under the impression that the companies, they don't listen to what the people, what their thoughts are, which is totally false. They do listen. They don't always take what you have to say, because there's millions of us, so they don't always take everybody's opinion into account, but they do listen better than Sony. And by that, I simply mean that if you try to get Sony support, if there's something wrong with your PlayStation, you're screwed. You get Xbox support in a matter of minutes. Like it's that quickly. They're really good with customer support. But I think that the concept that that has propped up that Xbox has no games. I mean, we got games; they do exist. I mean, my 6 pre-orders of multiplats don't exist with the Xbox logo if it wasn't no game. So they do exist. Xbox is bringing in games. They it just might not be your IPs that you want. And IPs kind of died when they invented Xbox Play Anywhere. They when they introduced the whole Windows combo, that kind of died. So like excuse like, oh, I want IPs. You can't really say that no more, because that kind of doesn't exist on the Xbox front. It still exists for Sony, because they're not or actually sometimes it doesn't exist for Sony if it goes with PC, but it depends on what thing, like they still got their IPs like Uncharted. They just got that Lost Legacy Tomb Raider knockoff, good for them. They got that Horizon Zero Dawn, but it's just it's just kind of funny that because Xbox is in a totally different situation than Sony, because now they don't have IPs, because they put themselves in this situation where they're basically in competition with their own selves. They basically combine two of their own markets, and basically now they're fighting for their personal dollar. Which one of their divisions sell more. That's basically what they're doing. And I think eventually what they're going to try to do is they're going to combine them into one thing. What that one thing, we don't know yet. But I think the way that everything is heading, I think that's exactly where we're heading in the future. And maybe it's going to turn out to be another Steam machine. Well, that kind of failed, but it's just like or maybe it might just be a simple console that it's no longer generations, because the console can be upgradable like a PC over time. I was getting ready to say that. I've been talking about that with Saltiest for like a year now, about how that should happen, about a console that's upgradable, and I think it should go that way.
But see, the issue with doing that is you would have to say to people before they buy the next generation after Xbox One, if you get this system, if you don't get these upgrades, there are games that might not be able to be played, just like a PC. So you're gonna have to give them that option.
I don't necessarily agree it's going to go that route. I think it's just going to go more towards the mobile, like mobile phones. Basically, people upgrade within a couple of years, 3 or 4 years, because the reason why console gaming is, developers are able to, develop their games, for a specific console, and it's not changing, all the time with PC. So I don't necessarily think that we're going to go towards the option of upgrading our parts. I don't think, console gamers want to mess with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't either, but that would be like the next, that would, like, if it feels like prophecy comes true, that would be like the logical way to build a new generation console. Like something that ends all generation, because forever it's upgradable. Like, and it basically turns into a PC.
Speaking of graphics, let's touch upon, one of the major stories, because a lot of people are saying at Gamescom, Microsoft failed because they didn't show a lot of graphical comparisons, and then news leaked after the fact. Digital Foundry brought out.
Digital Foundry did it, and you could even see it. You could even see it, on screenshots with Aaron Greenberg on Twitter. Like there was comparisons there. And you can see you can see it quite plainly where the difference lies.
You guys see this right here that I'm sharing on screen? I don't know if you guys can see it. This is the picture of the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, graphical comparisons, Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's pretty, clear in my opinion. You look at the textures on this side with the hieroglyphics, and you look at the graphics on top with the hieroglyphics, they're kind of blurry and muddled. You saw some, screenshots of her face itself, and this is the big thing, the game changer with me, because I've consistently said this, and I've been, when I was on NextGen's channel and I had my debate, I said the PS4 Pro was developed for VR, specifically the PlayStation VR, and it's true, and it's starting to show right now how much of a failure that console is, because number one, in my opinion, the VR concept isn't going to catch on. It's going to be a failed peripheral, kind of the way the Kinect is, and you'll see it, the 3D TVs and such. But this is proof in the pudding, okay? The difference between the Xbox One X that was in development for a long time, that was focused towards 4K and those 4K assets. So what people don't understand is, yes, it's going to be in 4K, and you can talk about, this and that, is it, using true 4K or not? But if you look at the details in the hieroglyphics, that's the 4K assets, okay? You're talking about the draw distances and everything else. This is clear as day. And I think the reason why, what we're seeing here is going to start showing, Phil stated about how he doesn't see the Xbox One X as a competitor with the PS4 Pro. He said the PS4 Pro is more comparable to the Xbox One S, and that's true in my opinion, because if you look at the differences here, we didn't ever see differences like this back when the PS4 original was compared with the Xbox One. When you were looking at those pictures, you didn't see a night and day difference like this. You had to squint your eyes, so you're like, which one's which? There's lighting difference, maybe.
But now you can tell.
This is night and day.
Yeah, now you can tell.
It's clear. So I think that just, I put on my Twitter, I'm just like, well, where did all the ponies go? Once the Xbox One X, numbers, the sales number for the pre-order, and now we got the graphical comparisons, it just seems like all those people just kind of stopped talking as much, because this is, the facts are being presented here, and this is clear. So what do you guys think about these pictures here?
I think it's pretty night and day difference.
Nick, you looking at them? You seeing this?
Yeah, I'm looking at them. I mean, if you look at that picture and you tell me to my face that the PS4 Pro looks better, I would just turn around and I wouldn't even bother arguing with you, for honestly, because I mean, that is just
facts, right? It's facts.
Way better, dude. I wouldn't even say anything. I couldn't say anything.
So the big argument that has been presented is the $500 price point. So obviously by the sales numbers with the pre-orders, that doesn't seem to be an issue with, the people. The other thing that's been stated is, during the holiday season, they're predicting, Pactor, for example, said that there's going to be a price drop in the PS4 Pro. So it's going to go down to $350, and then the Xbox One X is going to be $500. So then you're going to see the PS4 Pro start to move, and the Xbox One X won't sell. But when people start to see this, they're going to be like, hold up, why would I buy a PS4 Pro when I'm getting this much difference? I mean, it's a no-brainer for me, because a lot of people are saying that, PS4 was smart when they snagged up all the exclusive marketing rights, because Xbox isn't going to be able to show these things on their stage, which is true. But the digital foundries of the world, because YouTube is where I get most of my media, and I'm sure that's the same for you guys. So this is shared on social media, it's shared on YouTube, and it spreads, okay? So just like this spread, you're going to see the Star Wars, the CODs, the everything else, the AAA multiplats. Everybody's going to start seeing the differences that stick out like this, and it's going to be a no-brainer.
I also want to screen share mine here, because this is another screenshot.
You
guys see this?
Yep.
This is from Mikey Barra. So you got the X, you got the Pro, and you got the PC. Well, I'm sorry, PC guys. Kind of looks like the X kicks your ass.
I mean, yeah, for real, dude. Holy cow. I just switched over. That's kind of, dude, that's crazy. I mean, honestly. So now, I mean, I can't, I'm speechless. I really can't say anything. I'm speechless at that.
So we're not going to say where people should play or where they shouldn't play. But the thing that's crazy is that you're seeing some games perform better on a $500 system. Pick a number for a PC, and statistics are out there, and a majority of the PC market are running e-machine type specs. They're running stuff that's like 360 level. Okay, so not everybody has a $3,000 PC with crazy GPUs and water cooling and everything else. That's not what it is. So that's why I have a problem when people bash the console market, because they're separate things. Okay, but when the graphics are touching on this level, it's crazy. We're moving into a medium that we never have touched upon. Okay, so it's something that console players haven't seen before, because like we were saying before, the 360 and the PS3 held back the market for a long time. Okay, you had a lot of titles that were coming out, like Destiny 1. They weren't able to do the things that they wanted to because they were held back. So right now we're getting into the next gen situation. Okay, if you're with me, because we're hitting upon stuff that we should have hit upon probably 4 years ago, but it was held back by the other systems because they didn't want to let go. This is why, you're talking about upgrades, I feel like this is a good step for the console space, because it gives people options. Okay, if they want to stay, that's why backwards compatibility is key for Microsoft, and that's why they're pushing it with the Xbox original, the Xbox 360. It's because it's needed. People need to know they can bring their games forward and backwards.
Yeah, they want the they want the history to endure, and I understand that. That is a good reason. That the problem still exists, though, that you're enabling people not to move forward when you do that. Because why enable everybody to play 360 games and not buy Xbox One games? That's kind of my biggest thing.
I don't know if that's necessarily the thing. I think it's just showing your customers that, hey, if you buy a product because they want to go digital, right? They want people to buy digitally. If you're saying, hey, if you buy stuff and you invest and you can't necessarily trade it in, your investment's going to span over future consoles. It's not going to be a waste, because when I was thinking about upgrading to the Xbox One, I had to think about, well, I need to buy, a new controller. I need to buy, new games. And what about the old games I had? Those are gone, and I traded them all in and stuff like that. So that's not an issue anymore. So if you want to upgrade, you can upgrade. If you want to stay with the current console, you can, get an S. And that's the brilliance in this marketing scheme for Xbox at this point, because they're touching all the bases. Okay, they're not leaving anybody behind, and then it gives the developers the ability to innovate. They can take their titles and they can push them to the limits graphically. Okay, and it's not going to leave people behind. Like with PUBG, for example, it might be so you need to have an X to get the full experience, you know, because there's going to be like 100 players and, you know, the ecosystem and blah, blah, blah. But,
Yeah,
you know, it is what it is. I think, you know, it's interesting to see these things, you know. So, I don't know. I think it's good for gaming in general. Did you guys see the screen leak? I'm going to try to pull it up here. Let me bring up. Because what I actually did here, I was trying to like screen share and then I like closed some windows out of. So if you guys, did you guys see that, you know, the screen leak of, it looked like kind of a Marvel like line for game releases. Did you guys check that out, or what did you guys think of that?
the one with Halo on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't see all the other games on that. I just noticed Halo.
I'm gonna pull that up real quick. If you guys, so do you guys think that another Halo is gonna come out in 2018, or you think that's too soon for Halo?
I said 2019 on that picture. That's what I thought it said.
That would be very.
I think it was 18.
That would be very, very good if they did that. I can't. You know, that would be kind of wishful thinking on my part, because I would have all my you know, dream games in 1 year. That would be really nice, but I don't see Microsoft doing that. In fact, I don't actually see them doing that for at least 2019 at least.
Yeah.
Because Halo 5, I don't like Halo 5 is still prominent, like, and it's still gaining people.
Okay.
So I don't see that would be wishful thinking, and I would love that. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see the end of I would love to see the wrap up of that storyline, and I would love to see the conclusion to John 117. I would love to see that. But 2018, just after 2015's launch, I don't know if Phil would do that. But because then you're kind of because what's after that would technically imply the next one would actually be Gears 5.
Yeah, Gears 5 would be out there.
And I think next year Anthem is supposed to come out, right? That's
supposed to.
It's supposed to, yeah. You got Sea of Thieves, you got Crackdown, which got delayed. You got State of Decay 2. You got Red Dead Redemption 2. These are now multiplats I'm naming. You got Far Cry 5. You got God of War 4 for Sony. You got Spider-Man for Sony. And maybe Days Gone if they're lucky. I doubt it though. And then probably another Forza for Microsoft, obviously. Another Madden, another 2K. But if they somehow are able to launch the conclusion of Halo in 2018, that would be that would actually be very, very, very fortunate. But I don't actually know if I don't know if they can do that, because I don't know how far along they actually are in the development process of finishing it. But they did say at E3 that they didn't show Halo in favor of a different game that they showed on screen, which the game that they showed on screen was that Metroid. That Metroid game. That Metroid game. Yeah.
Metro?
The one where he was like going like a zip line and stuff. That one like took Halo's like
Metro Exodus.
Yeah, that one took Halo's like spotlight, which I don't think it honestly deserved at all. I wanted to see what the next Halo actually looked like. Now we do have like one. We just had Gamescom, and if they really are planning on releasing the next Halo in next year, they're gonna have to preview it they're gonna have to throw a teaser or do like a showcase of it at some point. Then I think the next big thing for Sony is that Tokyo Game Show, but that's Sony. And then the next event would be the Game Awards in November, December. So like that's like the next and that. But I don't see them doing it. I think it's too soon. Like usually that's only a 3-year gap.
Yeah, but I think in the development cycle of Halo, we've seen about 3-year gaps in between, the Halo releases. I think it's giving the brand. Okay, I got this screen. I'm going to share this real quick. I think it's giving the brand enough time to breathe, per se, because they don't want to sell their,
I want to see the conclusion really, really badly. I really want to see that conclusion. I really do.
All right, so can you guys see this screen? I'm gonna bring it up.
There it is.
Yeah. Sorry it took so long. It's just it's a graphic. So this is on Jamie Moran's Twitter line. Because I try to Google it, and for some reason it doesn't come up. But if you look at this timeline, you have your Sea of Thieves, your Crackdowns, your State of Decays, your Ori and the Will of the Wisp. This is definitely not coming out in 18. But so you got the big three. You got the Halos, you got the Forzas, and you got the Gears, right? So they did at this E3 they had no mention of a Halo, okay? Because it still was too short to announce that. But I went back and I did research on the releases of the Halos, and it was about a 3-year period between each of the Halos. So if you're looking at this number, Halo 5 was released in 2015. And if it came out in 2018, like it's slated here, it'd be a perfect time period because, last E3 didn't have a Halo or a Gears mentioned. You'd have a Halo mentioned in this E3, which is big for the fan base because, that's one of the billion-dollar franchises. And then the following year, you could have a Gears because they're always going to have these Forza titles released. Forza, the simulator game, and then you have the Horizons. So Horizon 4 is definitely going to be slated like that. But Crackdown is the interesting one because Sea of Thieves is going to be coming out around that time. I'm not questioning that, but they're delaying the Crackdown. So like you said, if you push that back, then it kind of, fights with all these bigger titles. But I don't think that there's really a time period where you can just release it and it's not going to have any competition,
Well, that's kind of the thing is like if they had released it with the X as intended, you wouldn't really have anything to contend with because a week prior, Call of Duty comes out, and then bam, a week later, Crackdown 3 comes out, and then Battlefront 2 doesn't come out till another 10 days later. So you had a decent window to release it in, and you basically scoffed it off, which is due to the fact that you say that the multiplayer is incomplete, which it may as well be. But like, I personally, I actually don't actually have to buy that now. I'm actually kind of happy because I was only going to buy it if it was an X launch title, and now it's not. So actually I took my Crackdown pre-order and put it on the X, and I was able to pay the X off. So that's, that's a positive for me. So but out of those games, funnily enough, the only ones that I'm actually might be interested in is that Sea of Thieves,
okay,
and that
so Sea of Thieves,
and that Halo, and that Halo. That's pretty much it. Because keep in mind, I already have Red Dead Redemption 2 pre-ordered. I already have Far Cry 5 pre-ordered. I'm going to get God of War 4. I don't know if I'm actually getting Spider-Man because I'm not much of a Spider-Man game kind of person, even though it looks kind of cool. And I'm not getting Days Gone, so like God of War 4. But from what I heard from Sony is like that God of War 4 clashes directly with that Crackdown. So it's like I don't know if you want to do that.
What about you, Nick? What sticks out right here for you? I'm gonna just kind of cross off Ninja Gaiden and Crimson Skies and Dino Crisis. I think that's bullshit right there. But
I think another Dead Rising 2 is actually bullshit because we just had one.
Yeah, and it was pretty unsuccessful, so you could scratch that off as well. But I think this format right here, I know it's kind of touchy subject when it comes to these big gaming companies and, announcing release dates and stuff like in this format, because this looks specifically like it was copied and pasted out of Disney's playbook when it comes to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know what I'm talking about? Or Star Wars, for example. They're trying to give people a timeline, what they need to look forward to in the future. But I think this, for example, is huge for gaming fans because it kind of puts a picture in a timeline. I think if you put it in this format, you would say, in the next 2 years, this is what we're looking at. You know, it would give people hope for the future. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that Phil has said that he doesn't want to announce things that are too far out, but this is crazy to me because it makes me see things. You know, I'm a visual person. What about, do any of these games stand out to you, Nick? Like, what do you think about this format and stuff like that? I know this is fake, but it's interesting.
I mean, it's fake, so I don't have too much to say about it. Sea of Thieves, like I said, I'm with T Reeve. I'm really interested in the Halo and Sea of Thieves. Crackdown, not so much. Recently, I started playing Ori, so now that's kind of on my radar because Ori is actually a pretty good game.
Okay,
but I mean, I don't know, man. It's just since it's fake, we don't know. But if this was real and I saw this, it would give me a little bit of encouragement knowing that they're working on there will be some exclusives that they are working on that will be coming out. Now, I'm not interested in most of the exclusives that they have. So I mean, that's kind of a bummer for me. But the fact that they had them and they're working on them is great, you know, and good. But this is fake, and we don't know exactly what they're working on. We just know that they're working on Crackdown, and that got delayed, and Sea of Thieves.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Because the only thing that can combat a God of War is either a Gears or a Halo. So, and I think Microsoft honestly knows that. So maybe that's the reason why they're doing that, if it's real. But like you said, it's probably fake. But I'm just kind of speculating because, you know, that would actually save their asses in 2018 if they did that. If they did that, that would actually save their asses. But, you know, but the problem then still relies on the concept that Sony has they still have Spider-Man, and they possibly have, you know, at least one more that they're going to release. Now, for everybody listening to this, you know, don't think I'm like excluding your Jap titles, because I'm not. I just don't include them because I honestly don't consider them at all entertaining. Besides your, you know, Kingdom Hearts concept, and that's also coming to Xbox.
That's gonna be multi-plat,
that's about to be multi-plat. So I'm good. I'm good with my PlayStation. I don't need to play it for that. Plus, I finally get to play Kingdom Hearts achievements. Awesome. That's so gonna be cool.
Right.
But you know, like, no, like, because like I know a lot of people would get on my ass about, you know, oh, you're not including, you know, freaking Neo or all these other titles that exist, and I'm like, well, I don't really include them because they technically don't necessarily count for me. So, like, you know, I'm counting the ones that I personally would like to buy, not the ones that are, you know, basically plastered on a board and only 2 are interesting. You know, that kind of concept. So, you know, it's like, it's kind of the same thing with Xbox. Like, I only consider IP wise, the only games I play for it are like the Gears or the Halos or, you know, the Titanfalls. You know, everything else is all multi-plat to me, so it doesn't really matter. And I also don't necessarily always go with story. Sometimes it's purely multiplayer reason. So, but you know, the fun part becomes when it's not a multiplayer focused game. Should I buy this, and will I be entertained? The funny part to that analogy is this year I have Destiny 2, which multiplayer is mainly my focus. After I beat its story, you got the new COD, which everybody, you know, a decent amount of people are hating the beta, and decent amount of people are actually enjoying it. So got mixed reviews there. And then you got the Battlefront 2, which is multiplayer based. On the flip side, for story, you got Shadow of War in October, which is going to be awesome. You got Assassin's Creed Origins, which is story based, which is going to be awesome. And you have Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, which is story based, which is definitely going to be an interesting sequel, considering the guy also got nuked. So we're you know, we're on a decent path for those multi-plat storylines, you know. And you know, like Alex said in that debate, he's like, well, I can play them on PlayStation 2. I'm like, yeah, but I prefer my achievements. I'm sorry. That's just my preference.
Basically all the lists that we saw was all multiplayer, and that's the way that Microsoft takes the approach with their games. And then with Sony, you have the single player campaigns. And the question I have for you guys is, do you think that Sony's approach to these similar looking games, you know, you take Horizon Zero Dawn out of that because it's kind of an open world, but you look at the other games, it's kind of the same perspective and the same type of look when it comes to, you know, some of these games. Do you think that their approach to their first party exclusives is going to be, you know, working in the long run, or do you think Microsoft's approach to this multiplayer, you know, different type of game strategy is going to work in the long run when it comes to the big?
It depends on, you know, it depends on who you're actually targeting, because are you targeting hardcore multiplayer, you know, PvP guys, or are you targeting casual? So the problem is the casual mostly always wins the market regardless of what you do. So it's like it's kind of that concept. The one thing I will say about Sony, and I don't like this about Sony, and I had this argument in the Discord this week, and I say this a lot in my own personal videos when I'm talking about Sony. Quantity doesn't equal quality. So, you know, you might have something that looks nice and pretty, but its story is dog shit, and that is practically the life of Sony as we know it. So, for example, Uncharted, it looks pretty. Story, practically Indiana Jones clone. Horizon Zero Dawn looks pretty, plays like a Tomb Raider mixed with Terminator. Like, yeah, you know,
that's subjective. You know what I'm talking about. But what I'm trying to say is the Uncharted and the God of War in that mold. You know, The Last of Us. You can look at those and say, a lot of people
the God of War has existed throughout time, so that's always going to draw people.
So what I'm trying to say is, if you look at the Microsoft studios or whatever, they usually have one type of game and one type of game only. That's kind of why Bungie left, because we had Halo at the time, and then, you know, Bungie wanted to do something similar, so it was going to be a first-person shooter in Destiny, but it was going to be a little bit different. And then Microsoft was like, no, we got Halo. We're good with Halo. That's our first-person shooter. It's super successful. Let's not go out of the box. Let's stay with that. Then they had the Gears of War, which is the third-person title. We haven't seen really a third-person type game outside of that. You got your Racer, you know. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they have their, you know, the big categories.
They have a big category IP for every formula.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, Sony is available to do whatever they want. I think that they let their developers do, you know, have more creative freedom. But, you know, we see these single player games, and they all start looking cookie cutter. They start looking similar. Okay. So the Uncharted's kind of look like The Last of Us, kind of look like the God of Wars. Do you think that, you know, their audience is going to tire out of that cookie cutter mold, or do you think it's a good approach?
No, I don't. If there's anything Sony's learned, is like, if something works, keep doing it. And that's kind of like what Sony has learned, that and they learned that from Microsoft's 360 era. If something works, keep doing it. The fact that 360 legitly was multiplats. What did Sony do the next era? They did legitly the same thing, and it worked. They legitly marketed it up the ass, and it worked. So, but that's kind of like basically stealing somebody else's formula, and I don't necessarily approve of that, but it still does work. But then, like, I also said this on Friday, is like, you gotta, as far as Microsoft is concerned, they're not so much concerned with what Sony is doing as long as they're the ones beating them corporately. So as long as they make more money, they don't care.
Yeah, but I think that we got to get outside that realm, because just because Microsoft's $1 trillion company doesn't mean, because Xbox is a division of that.
Yeah, it is a division, but like so, Microsoft cares more about the big scope more than they care about one division. Sony, however, cares more about that one division and making the most profit from it.
Okay, so what I've heard is, Sony, their business, outside the gaming realm has failed. Okay, they have,
Sony is the only thing that their PlayStation division is worth $14 billion. That's about a quarter of what their actual company is worth. Well, we'll put it that way.
So they're putting all their chips in the table, right? They're saying, okay.
But Microsoft doesn't have to. But Microsoft doesn't have to do that though, and they're choosing. But they don't have to.
I think it's almost better for the gaming community on that side because their backs are against the wall. On Microsoft side, they don't need their gaming division to be successful. Hell, it could go bankrupt. Let's say the Xbox division could go bankrupt. Microsoft would still be a $1 trillion company. They would still be doing what they're doing. Okay, it's not ever going to happen. But Sony, for example, they need the gaming division to do well, so they're pushing more effort into it. That's what I'm saying. Like if I'm backing, I'm not blind to see.
They need their PlayStation division to be successful if they actually want to stay on the table.
So if I'm looking at it on an outside looking in, I feel like the reason why Sony's doing what they're doing this generation and why they're kicking Xbox's ass right now is because they have the fire under their feet. They have to do well.
They have to do well, otherwise they won't survive.
Exactly. So I've said this in many times in my videos. We don't want either company to go out of business. It would be so bad for gaming. People don't realize how bad it would be. We don't want people to have a chokehold or stranglehold on the gaming, community. We want both companies to do well, so it pushes both sides to do different things. But I think that Xbox could learn some things when it comes to the way that they market, the way that they, grab some of these marketing deals and such. But interesting, conversation piece, it is what it is. Like some people are saying that the Xbox division is hampered financially by the big wigs up in Microsoft. Do you guys think that's true? You think that they're hampered financially? They're reined in right now, and that's why they're canceling studios, and we're not seeing that many games. And
I don't know.
Nick, what do you think about that?
I really don't know about the whole hampered in situation. That doesn't. I mean, yeah, they're shutting down studios, but we've seen some of the reasons why they're shutting some studios down. But I think going back to what Sony's doing, I think, like T-Reap said, they know it works. They have to keep doing it. They know that their player base will still buy those. I know a lot of people, my friends who have Xboxes, who hate playing multiplayer games and playing competitive. They've left Xbox to play Sony because they have more exclusives, quote unquote, exclusives, and so they've done that. But I think Xbox has its thing. Xbox knows what they're doing. Xbox knows that they're going to eventually run the multiplayer aspect of things. I think that they know where it's going. I think they're allowed to actually, quote unquote, experiment more because of the fact that they're on Microsoft, and that Microsoft, like T-Reap says, it's a big company, so Microsoft's going to make its money no matter what. Xbox gets a little bit more free reign, and I think when they do that, it kind of deserts some of their player base. It kind of doesn't desert some of their player base, and so they're taking chances and they're finding out what those chances, what comes of them. But Sony, on the other hand, they just keep pumping out these exclusives along with multiplats. And it's working for them because that just works, and they have to make it work, like we've been talking about. And so, I mean, maybe Xbox might be being hampered because of certain experiments that happen with the X1 and certain things that happen with this generation of Xbox. But I think the future is bright with the with the One X. And what they're doing. I think it's going to be very exciting, and I think they're eventually going to get ahead in the competition with Sony.
Yeah,
because like Phil like basically says this multiple times. It's like you don't have to be number one to win. It's like you can be below somebody and still be winning. And by that, he's basically referencing, because Microsoft makes more money in the long run more than Sony, they're technically already winning. It's just, it's just a division war. It's a console war, which he detests and doesn't like. And because he doesn't like that, and because he hates that, and because he wants everybody to sing Kumbaya, he wants everybody to be, be friends, basically. And that kind of doesn't really work with the mentality that we kind of have been known to actually, known to actually basically been brought up with is like, Microsoft been known to basically throw jabs at Sony. They've been known to basically go for the jugular and go for these deals. And Phil is basically leading it in a direction where he basically wants everybody to get along. But in reality, you don't get along with your competition that well. So it's like, it's kind of funny because he's basically saying that, let's all sing Kumbaya, but that doesn't work that way. But then that's kind of the amusing part of that is, because, the dream to combine, the Windows devices, Windows 10 devices, into one ecosystem, console and PC people, they hate each other. So that's worse than PlayStation and Xbox people hating each other. That's like the worst thing that you can ask of somebody, and that's just absolutely horrible. But like I don't know, like if you like, and I said this in my projection of his dream is like, if he accomplishes that ecosystem in the future and he actually gets console people and PC people to get along, you deserve an Oscar. You deserve it. You deserve it because he deserves it. He would deserve it because like that's practically impossible to do. So like that's absolutely like that's a really big goal to have. But the question is, how do you get two sides that have hated, like that have taste, like that don't like each other for so long, suddenly like grow to actually like each other? That's kind of something that I would like to know. But
I just think that Phil is a nice guy, and people say that can't work in business, but I kind of look at the counter argument. If you have a dude that can bring people to the table that don't normally bring to the come to the table, kind of like Game of Thrones, for example.
Yeah.
It's just, he has that ability, that personality to kind of get people, the discussion moving. You know what I'm saying? So PUBG, for an example, that who knows what he did with that. That's a huge game. The hardware, the R&D behind the X and the S, all that stuff, people are just kind of just brushing that off as an easy thing. And it's not. Millions of dollars went into the S and it went into the X, and he had to cancel projects. He had to clean up the trash. You had Scalebound, the devs were siphoning money out to go develop another game that they're going to put on the competitor. And people were saying, oh, it's Phil's fault because of his personality. Bullshit.
No, bullshit. They stole money from him.
He found out that shit was happening, and he put an end to it. Yeah. Now, if you're going to talk shit about Phil and you forget about the past, he dug our asses out of the grave because we were about to have the dirt put on the Xbox brand. Sorry. You know. It is what it is. So R&D, cleaning up titles that are garbage or siphoning out money that are wasting money, streamlining the marketing deals so you can put the money towards developing first-party titles, which people are bitching about. But the fact of the matter is, you look at Epic Games Epic Studios, for an example, with Fortnite, that's been in development for like 7 years. Okay, that's a title that you look at it from the outside looking in, you're like, oh my God. I mean, it's not even, the graphics aren't realistic or whatever. It's a cartoony looking, but that's taken this long to get out. Titles don't just come out in a blink of the eye. Okay. It takes time to get this shit out, and you guys need to get the fuck off Phil's back. If he screws up in the future, that's fine, but we need to give the X some time to get out there, get some sales numbers to see what this thing's going to be doing. And I guarantee you we're going to be having first-party titles. But I want to touch upon the fact that, like everything else in the beginning of the cycle, people are talking about Donnie D and how he's a god or whatever else I've been hearing on other podcasts. He came out with these titles on a multiplayer console, Xbox Live. He came out with Sunset Overdrive single player, Rise single player. I don't know where Recore was in the development cycle, but we got all these single-player games that were bombs. Quantum Break didn't do well. So you get all these titles that are single player. They don't do well on a console that's multiplayer. Oh, what you need to focus on, your aspects need to be multiplayer. And you look at the titles that are coming out, that's what's coming out. Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, State of Decay, those are all multiplayer titles, okay? The Halos, everything else. They didn't know who they are. Xbox needs to know who they are because Sony already knows who they are. And they're pumping out games left and right, the single player games, and that's why they're dominating the market. So
that's what I was saying with the X. I think they're heading toward that direction. I think they know what they are. and I think that's the direction that they're going to head. They have to. They rule the multiplayer, and most of their player base plays competitive multiplayer anyway, so they know that. And I think that's the direction they're going to head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, because people say that they don't play Xbox for multiplayer, and I'm like, then why do you have one? I'm just kind of curious, like, why?
You should be on PlayStation,
like,
honestly.
That's exactly what I say. I say you should be on PlayStation, or if single player is like such a importance to you, you should be on PC or PlayStation. Don't be on the Xbox, because that drives more towards the multiplayer aspect of things. It's like someone playing Halo, but you're not competitive. I find that very ironic and very very interesting, because the whole thing was like basically it birthed esports on consoles. So I find that very funny. So someone who's a Halo fan but doesn't play it competitively, I just find that amusing and funny, because it's like that Halo is like the birth of what like multiplayer is today. So that's kind of the amusing part about that. But you just play it for story. I mean, understandable, and but then you have other people argue that Halo 5 is garbage, or the new Halos are garbage. Halo 3 was the best. I'm like, I personally don't honestly think that. I think for story it was okay. Reach was my least favorite, not because of its multiplayer, not because of its story, but because it was inaccurate to what the actual story of the fall of Reach actually was. It was inaccurate as hell. That's the reason I don't like it. And it should have been, but Bungie chose not to play it that way. And you notice throughout all of Halo's history, they follow a hit formula. They all those games have one. They all have a hit formula except Halo 3. That one does not actually have one, and that's the reason why I don't like it. I don't like Halo 3 because it doesn't have a hit formula. That's the only reason I don't like it. And but the best hit formula was Halo 2, and then the second best is actually Halo 5's. That's because it's a 5-hit system, a 4-hit system, it's I like that concept of something, that knowing that if you master this formula, 2 shots to the head, 3 shots to the body, you automatically kill your opponent. I like that because it requires accuracy.
I think personally, I don't know. I think 343 Studios could branch out. I think that it doesn't, risk the brand of Halo if they came out with another first-person shooter. That's what they do best. I feel like if they took some people out of the dev team, not a lot, they have people.
Well,
I think it's like over 200 people.
I would be okay with them doing that as long as you finish the conclusion of this cycle of Halo. Finish this conclusion of this cycle of Halo, and I will be happy with you doing whatever you want.
I just feel like they succeed and excel in the FPS genre. So I think that, like I said before, I think it's time for them to branch out and try to use their tools to produce better IPs. And who knows what they're going to be coming out with the $1 billion that they're investing. No one knows at this point. It's a waiting game. But it's been a while here, so I think we'll conclude the podcast. But I'd like to thank everybody in chat that's participated. We appreciate you guys. If you guys could give out your conclusions. What's up? Yeah, Death Mobile, PSN down. Who else has been in here? But yeah, we like to give you guys a shout out. You guys want to tell them who you are again and where they can find you on social media and YouTube and stuff? Who wants to start?
I'll go first. I'll go. Thanks, Salty, for having me on again. I appreciate it. This is actually going to become harder now because this is my last Sunday that I don't work. So I actually go back to work this week. So, but thanks for having me on. It was fun, and I was doing this on my laptop too. I haven't used this laptop in forever.
Yeah. Dude, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I haven't used this since the beginning of my YouTube era. So it's been a while. But you can find me at T Reaper on YouTube. You can find me at Thomas Barker 61 on Twitter. And you can find me on Next Gen 720's channel Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you can also find me on Xbox Live at Odo T Reaper, and But make sure if you add me on Xbox Live, you let me know that you're a fan, so I just don't get creeped out that maybe you're spam or something like that. Because I've been getting a lot of spam. But I did get a new fan, though. I was actually quite happy.
Nice. All right, Nick, it's you.
All right. Well, just started my YouTube channel about a week ago. YouTube is Nick Fury, how it's spelled, one word. Twitter at Nick Fury, same thing, one word. And that's pretty much it. Just drop by, comment. If you don't like it, say so. If you do like it, whatever. Like I said, I'm just starting. I'm new, fresh, and it's pretty exciting and really interesting. So I'm actually excited for it.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess this is me. Saltiest Gaming. I'd like to thank everybody. I just hit 200 subscribers on YouTube. It's been a crazy ride.
Booyah.
Oh, damn, that was fast. Congrats, man.
Yeah, it's been a little bit over 2 months. It's been a crazy, awesome ride. So anyway, I just want to give you guys thanks again. I'm passionate about gaming. That's why I do this. I like hearing from you guys. The comment section in my videos are pretty lit. We like to talk about stuff. I urge you guys to talk about more stuff because that's what gaming's about. You know, it's about the community. It's about coming together and talking about shit. So anyway, we have Discord. We have everything else. Xbox Live, Saltiest Gaming, one word. Twitter, Saltiest Gaming. The I is a 1. Anyway, that's gonna do for us. As always, stay salty, and we'll talk to you later.